Hello and good evening, YouTube. This is Kamikaze Games, and this is a video long time coming. For the longest time, like several times over, I've made a couple of videos saying, this is what I do instead of Brian France, and I limited myself to like three changes or something, and I made 5 changes. Well, here, suddenly, okay, so this is reality now, alright? Brian France is evicted from NASCAR, and they're like, okay, we need someone to run NASCAR. Oh, I know. How about some kid from North Dakota who we've never heard of in our lives? There we go. Suddenly, I am CEO of NASCAR. What do I do? Well, let's find out. So, my hair is a mess, by the way. I apologize. What would I do? Well, that's a good question. I do a lot of things, and at the same time, I wouldn't do much. The biggest thing that I do is obviously first things first, like first order, like the second that I'm sworn in as CEO. Chase, goodbye. Goodbye. And I'm not talking about Elliott, I'm talking about Chase. Yes, all 3 national series. No, none of the series. None of this Chase bullshit. Get it the hell out of here. But I don't stop there. The points change too. You see, the Chase, it sucks, but so does the point system. And I think point system, because the Chase is, the idea of the Chase, wasn't it supposed to be to make it so winning mattered, you know? Wasn't that supposed to be the thing where like it put an emphasis on winning? And yet when Truex won 2 out of the first 6 Chase races, he didn't make the 3rd round, you know? Man, what a nice emphasis on winning you got there as Kurt Busch goes through and a 20 race losing streak. I'm sorry. The idea, the point is, no fucking Chase. Instead, we're going to rework the points system. And I'm sure I'm going to edit... Oh, yeah, of course, Pingus. I'm sure I'm going to edit this, so I'm sure you're going to see right now in front of you the points that I would use. Basically, it puts more of an emphasis on winning. At least it tries to, anyway. Basically, the top 5, you know. First place is 100 points. Second place is 80. Third place is 65 points. Anyway. Yes, and for bonus points, leading a lap is worth 5 points now. Being the leader at halfway is worth 5 points now. Getting pole position is worth 10 points to the championship. And leading the most laps in the race is worth 15. So not only does it put an emphasis on finishing well, it also puts an emphasis on racing well. So even if you're just like... This could, in all honesty, could lead to like green flag pit stop sequences where people just stay out to get 5 bonus points. I mean, why the hell not? That changes up pit strategy. Pit strategy races are the best races. The ones where tire fall off needs to be managed, and like people who are slow early can come back with fresher tires than the people that were racing ahead of them. That's the best races. So, yes, I think this kind of point system puts an emphasis on winning and racing well at all times, as well as giving you a reason to qualify well by giving you 10 bonus points for the pole. And I'm going to leave in group qualifying. Originally, I was not a fan of group qualifying, but since they stopped doing it at plate tracks, I have grown to appreciate it. Group qualifying is okay now. I'm glad that they took it away from plate tracks, but I'm fine with group qualifying now, so yeah. That's as far as that's concerned. So we've talked about the Chase going away and the point system changing. Well, now let's talk about the cars. You see, the big thing about racing now is that it's so fucking expensive that you need to have a sponsor with you, otherwise teams won't even take you, which is just stupid. So, we're going to work to reduce people needing to pay $1 billion a year to race their cars. And first things first, we're going to reduce the amount of practices. We're going to have 1 2-hour or longer practice for all three series. All three series: Trucks, Xfinity, and Monster Energy. That's the new series name now. Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool? I'm sorry. Yeah. So 1 practice per week. Now you see, you may think, well, that can't possibly be enough for people to, get into the groove of things. You remember some of those races this year where all the practices was rained out, where qualifying was rained out, and they just lined up, and they had to have competition cautions because, no one knew what was going to happen? The air of uncertainty is probably the best part about racing, don't you think? I feel like trying to manufacture drama is okay. Sometimes. I think that going cold turkey into a race is potentially some of the most exciting things that you can do, because it really shows which driver really has the most skill, who can put together a race-winning car in 2 hours. That's what I think. Plus, this will reduce the amount of gas used. This will reduce the amount of frickin' tires used. I wouldn't really necessarily shorten the races. Some races I would shorten, and we'll get to that when we talk about the schedule. But I really wouldn't reduce too many race lengths. But I would definitely 2 hours or more of practice, 1 practice for each series. Then you do qualifying, then you do your 3 rounds and all that crazy shit. So that's where that's concerned. Another area, I'm not entirely sure about this yet because I don't know if the logistics would be behind it, but I would like to have single suppliers of engines. What I would like is for NASCAR to furnish engines to teams directly from the shops, directly from TRD for Toyota, Roush Yates for Ford, and ECR for Chevy. Unless, Hendrick wants to pony up some extra money to become the main supplier of Chevys, just get a little bit of money up in there, but anyway, yeah. And they would build engines and send them to NASCAR, and NASCAR would distribute them as they saw fit. So, in that case, I think that Roush Yates would put out the best engines that they could for everyone if they didn't know which engine they were going to get, because the thing that people are going to say is well, if ECR is providing engines for everyone, then they give themselves the best engines and give the worst ones to Hendrick and Stewart-Haas or something. Well, actually they're going to Ford, so that doesn't matter. I think that if they provide them to NASCAR and NASCAR distributes them fairly, of course, I'd be in charge, so it would be fair. You can trust me. Logano would get the worst engine every week. You can trust me. Yeah, I think that would work best because they'd always put their best engines forward every week, and yeah, that might get a little expensive, but I think other companies would benefit. So yeah, they would have to pay NASCAR directly, and the engines wouldn't change much. The price of an engine would be I don't know, just throwing out a number, $20,000. It's probably way more than that, but $20,000 flat rate every engine, no matter what team you're driving for. I think that would balance out the field as well as reduce costs. But I don't really know too much technical shit. So on that note, let's talk about the changes that I would make to the cars, which is actually very minimal. I'm not gonna lie. I would not change anything about the trucks. The truck series is the best series in NASCAR right now. The trucks, change nothing about the trucks. Xfinity, we have seen images coming out from namely JD Motorsports and the Xfinity series. But the Xfinity series is reducing their spoiler size and apparently their splitter size. I haven't seen the splitter yet, so I have yet to be able to judge. But the spoiler looks fantastic. But as far as Xfinity and Cup is concerned, no more splitter. No more splitter. That's about all I'd change as far as the cars are concerned. No more splitter. Just have it taper off. Just be flat. And if the car that you're trying to model off has a gap in front, then friggin' put a gap in the valence. That would reduce downforce even more. Go right ahead. So yeah, I'd have it flatten off like the old cars, but it would still look like the cars do now. It would just be flat, basically, is what I'm trying to say. I'm looking around to see if I have a die cast and arms reach, because you see, basically it would look exactly like that, except the splitter just does not exist. It's just flat. It just comes right down. So I think you get the idea. And as far as the Cup Series cars are concerned, I would take off the tapered spacer, and that is all. No splitters, no tapered spacer. That's all I changed with the cars. If we really had to, we could make the car symmetrical, because the flat right side creates a lot of side force. And apparently that sucks, but for now, maybe I put that into like the experimental 2018 package, making the car symmetrical. But as far as everything is concerned now, just flatten off the splitter, get rid of that, and take off the tapered spacer. I think you'd see basically bar none improvement on all home fronts as far as the cars are concerned. So that's enough about the cars. So far we've discussed getting rid of the chase, changing the points, having NASCAR supply engines to everyone, and changing Xfinity cars slightly, making no adjustments to trucks, and getting rid of the splitter on Cup cars and getting rid of the tapered spacer, and potentially experimental 2018 package with no side force. Anyway, let's move on to the schedule, and I put a lot of fucking work into this, so you better appreciate it. I used the 2017 calendar as a model here, and I'm not going to go too far in depth into this because you can really just see it for yourself. What I'd do is I'd make it so, like I said before, so this is February. It has the key all times on this chart are Eastern. So on this chart, as you can see, the biggest things that you're going to want to take away from this is that the schedule always, no matter what, the Clash takes place the night before the Super Bowl, and the Daytona 500 takes place 1 week after the Super Bowl. It may seem a little bit awkward trying to model your entire season off of the NFL, but the thing is, you gotta understand, NASCAR competes with the NFL, and they're doing a bad job of it now. Just gonna be 100% honest here. They're doing a pretty bad job. So instead of competing against the NFL, compete with the NFL. Not like technically the same thing that I just said there. Not like that. Just like roll with the punches. Go with the grain, not against the grain. Which is why you put the Clash before the Super Bowl, have qualifying for the Daytona 500 on the Super Bowl. And as you can see here, we start out the season with a couple of extra practices just to get people back into the groove of things. There's 2 practices for the Monster Energy series here, and it does that for a little bit here. 2 practices there, and 2 practices for Xfinity up until about race 6. Yeah, the first 5 races plus Sonoma. So let me just tell you this right now. Okay, so the biggest things with the season is I will tell you what the season frickin' schedule is. But the biggest idea here is that we'd make extensive use of the doubleheader. We saw it at Dover. It was great at Dover. I think that was some of the best racing in the Xfinity Series besides Mid-Ohio, was the doubleheader on Dover. I love that. That was great. Keep doing it. As early as Phoenix, race 3 of the year, we'd have the Xfinity race run at 1 o'clock, and then the Monster Energy race ran immediately after it. I put 4 o'clock as just basically an outlier there, you know. Just an outline where it would be 3 hours right after the Xfinity race. But basically the main idea is that it makes extensive use of the doubleheader. Now I didn't finish this before starting the video, unfortunately, but basically when it comes down to it, the Monster Energy Cup, this is the schedule. This right here is the schedule, and there are a couple of changes. Some tracks only have 1 date. Now, every track on the schedule in the Sprint Cup Series right now Every track on the schedule in 2016, every race, there will be at least one race at every track. We don't get rid of tracks. There's only one new track. One new track in the Sprint Cup Series, and that is Circuit of the Americas. Yeah. That's the only new track in the Cup Series. We still go to every other track. But the biggest things is that there is, since there's only one New Hampshire race, the second Dover race is a 4:01. I like the 3:01 at New Hampshire, but I think it would work better at Dover because the Monster Mile, you have to make every mile count, basically, is what the slogan for that race would be. Every mile counts, including the 4:01 mile. So, little bit, what you think? Give me some suggestions here. But, another big change is that we do go to Pocono twice, but the second time we go to Pocono, it's the Pocono Road Course, and we do a 200-minute race. That's that's 3 hours and 20 minutes. The 200 minutes, that's about the length of a race at Pocono, so I think it's fine. Plus, if we do the road course, potentially we could run in the rain, which is something that happens at Pocono all the time. So that's good. Another thing to take note of is that Indianapolis Motor Speedway, we do go to Indy, but it's the road course for a 300. Maybe a 355 just to match up with Infineon and Watkins Glen, but yeah. Anything else? Okay. Darlington is race 26. The Southern 500 is race 26. So if there was a chase, Darlington Southern 500 would be the cutoff race. I think that would be pretty intense, personally. And the All-Star race takes place the weekend before the Homestead finale, and it could take place anywhere. It could take place at Charlotte. It could take place on rotation, like every 3 years we go to a different track. But it would always take place before the Homestead race, final race of the season. It would consist of people that had won in 2016, former winners of the Winston, 2 people who advanced through the 2 segments of the Monster Open, and 1 fan vote winner. So it's nothing intense. And the Clash would be all pole winners in the year prior. And yeah, that's about it. I don't think I'd add anything else. Maybe a fan vote, I don't know. But yeah, that's basically the whole thing here. So I don't know if you've read through this yet, but we're going to go back up here since I didn't finish this. There's a couple of things that I want to talk about as far as the other series schedules are concerned. The Truck Series does not start until, in 2017, it would be April 1st. It does not start alongside every other series, but there is basically a Truck Series All-Star race where full-time declared points drivers in the Truck Series are allowed in. Like, every single points declared Truck Series driver is automatically entered in. If they don't want to show up, then fuck them. They don't have to show up. But any open seats, if there's a Xfinity Series or Monster Energy Series driver that wants to hop into a truck, go right ahead. If there's like Bobby Labonte, he wants to get into a truck, go ahead. Derek Cope, if he wants to drive the 18 for Kyle Busch Motorsports, go right ahead. That kind of thing. Because in this universe, we would ban all Cup drivers. Up to 50 starts. 50 starts in the Cup Series. If you have 50 starts in the Cup Series, you can no longer race in the Xfinity Series. Okay, that's a little harsh. 3 races. 3 races across both series. You could put it into 2 Xfinity and 1 truck. You could put it into two trucks or 1 Xfinity. You can do any sort of combination, but you can only do 3 races outside of the Monster Energy Series. But the Daytona All-Star Truck Series race is free. It's a non-points race, so You can enter it no matter what, and you can enter 3 other races in the other series. So yeah, it's basically a freebie exhibition race. And I think it would be pretty awesome. I think it'd be pretty awesome. And it would take place right before the Daytona 500. It would be basically like the pre-show. The pre-show to the Daytona 500, which would be a primetime Sunday night event. I wanted it to be Monday night, but I think Sunday night's better. More people would be able to see it anyway, so... Yeah, Sunday night primetime, right after the truck exhibition race, is the Daytona 500, and I think that's pretty badass. And then the Truck Series season officially starts on April 1st. Now, there's lots of companion events for Xfinity all the way up until the 7th race in Xfinity Series is companion events with the Cup Series. So, if you really wanted to, you could use up all 3 of your other series races before, the frickin' Truck Series has even started. Then, we make extensive use of double headers with Xfinity and trucks. Taking Xfinity and trucks to different tracks, I think not only solves the problem of Cup drivers in Xfinity and trucks, but I also think that solves the problem of attendance issues. If you give people enough of an incentive to go to these races, you give them high quality events with like trucks and Xfinity together, I think that would absolutely be 100% okay. Doing these events side by side, basically. So yeah, I think companion events between trucks and Xfinity, and when the trucks and Xfinity are together, truck drivers could jump up into Xfinity and practice their skills. Xfinity drivers could drop down into trucks and just hang out. You could build your resume as an Xfinity Series driver by dropping down into these truck races that are companion with Xfinity races. And you wouldn't need to deal with the Cup guys, because the Cup guys, in this case, the Xfinity Series and Truck Series, in Iowa. But the Cup guys are all the way over in Talladega. And sure, both of these races take place the day before the actual Cup race, but I mean, you'd have to have a lot of ambition to go all the way from Alabama to frickin' Iowa overnight just to do some crappy, short track racing, and then come back and do the frickin' Talladega. Besides the point is that qualifying for Monster Energy Series would be scheduled such that it would not be completed before the truck race had started. So, would it really be worth it to go after these other events? That would have to be your decision as a driver. The Truck Series schedule that I've created, I've made a lot of adjustments to it, but it's still my favorite. The season would start at Bristol as a companion event with the other guys. I think that's okay because we had the exhibition race before. So I think this isn't too bad of a way to start the season off. And eventually we go to Iowa, and then we go to Las Vegas, and then we go here, Chemung. I don't even know if I'm saying that right, Chemung. Well, basically, I would make extensive use of home tracks. So, for example, Chemung is a 2/5 mile. I think that would be the proper, I think, kind of 2/5 mile track. Modified super stocks 4 cylinders. When the Wheelin' All-American Series is there, we could have a companion event with trucks. Could have the race right at 5 p.m. I don't know if that place has lights. We'd probably have to adjust for time. Because you never know when these races are going to happen, probably even have to go at like 4 o'clock so it doesn't get too dark too early. But I think putting trucks alongside wheeling events would get more people to go to the wheeling events. I mean, just to see the trucks, I'd go and see this shit. And then you go back to Dover, and then you have a 3-way companion event, Dover, Dover, Dover for all 3 series. Truck Series. Important thing with the Truck Series. The Truck Series does not repeat races. You go to a track once per year. And Sprint Cup and Xfinity do repeat tracks, but trucks do not. Trucks will go to Myrtle Beach, and actually they will go to Homestead mid-season because the Truck Series season does not end along with the other series because the season's so short. The thing that I always think is that whenever I see the Truck Series schedule and I'm sitting back and I look at this, at the start of the season, you go to Daytona and then you go to Atlanta. And then there's a 2-month period where there's one race. 2 months, one race. That's so stupid. Which is why we changed the whole schedule to make it go by quicker. There's few off weeks. The summer has a lot of off weeks, I will admit. I was fidgeting around the schedule trying to fit in Eldora, so I had a lot of off weeks during the summer. But you go to Denver, you go to Hickory, you go to Gateway, and there's a 2 weeks off. Then you go to Michigan, and then you do go to Daytona. There is a plate race for the trucks, because what I've always thought is that the trucks, they were never supposed to go. They're not designed for plate races. And yes, the Truck Series plate races are some of the best races, but Truck Series races are some of the best races, so I don't think you're missing out on too much. Because Michigan, round of applause for Michigan this year in the Truck Series. Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal race. And then here, Eldora is July 12th. And then they go to IRP together with the Xfinity Series. You know, there's places that Cup Series can't go. It's just simply not big enough, which is why we build up the track's prestige with these smaller series, hopefully to allow the tracks to earn more attendance and earn more money and improve their infrastructure, so someday potentially the Cup Series could go there. And using this format with companion events with Xfinity and trucks, I feel like that builds prominence. And sure, since all these races take place within, the same 50-mile area, sure, the Cup guys could drop down into the IRP races, but they're short tracks. Short tracks are always bound to be entertaining, especially on trucks, so. And then sure, you go to Atlanta, there's an Xfinity Series off week. Then you go to Milwaukee, companion events. Well, the Cup Series at Richmond. Canadian Tire, Xfinity would go there. I think Xfinity goes to Montreal, but I'm probably wrong. I don't have them going to Montreal. I have them going to Canadian Tire as a companion event with the trucks. Then you go to New Smyrna, however you say that, in the Truck Series. That's a short track, half-mile. Okay, don't actually remember where we were in this conversation, but you go to New Smyrna, which is a half-mile, and then the Labor Day weekend still is Darlington. There's a truck race that weekend, and it's a double header. There's a lot more time for the truck race to be completed so that you have all the fanfare, because I feel like Darlington is really becoming a marquee event again. Like before, it was a huge event. They made one of the big four that you needed to win for the $1 million that Bill Elliott did. And I feel like its prestige is really coming back. The throwback weekend, Labor Day, and all the fanfare surrounding it now. The Darlington's becoming a marquee event again. So I want to keep one race at Darlington. And we're also having no Xfinity race in Darlington. Just cause really. I feel like a companion event with the trucks would make give the trucks more prestige. And like I've been trying to say this whole time, Milwaukee, the companion events with Xfinity and trucks. Good idea. But these double header weekends, what I think, because you see, people don't go to the fucking companion events, Xfinity, and truck races. You see the Pocono races for Xfinity? You see the stands for that race? There was like 5 people in the stands for that race. So what I think, there should be a doubleheader package for the weekend. You should be able to get both, like if there's an Xfinity race and a Cup race, that's going to be a doubleheader on Sunday. You should get a discounted ticket. Like if the Cup race is $80 and the Xfinity race is $40, then you can make a doubleheader ticket to get you into both events for $100. And I think this is a brilliant business strategy because it gives a discount for the Xfinity race, and maybe you could find some value in that if like you didn't plan on seeing the Xfinity race in the first place, but you have this ticket that gives you both at a discounted price, and that's put asses in seats for the Xfinity race, and attendance for the Xfinity race goes up. So you're getting, you know, instead of an extra $40 for people that would have gotten probably the Xfinity ticket anyway, so they bought the package, well, you're getting people who weren't going to go to the Xfinity race at all, but now they're watching it. So you got an extra $20 when you were originally losing out on 40. Now you earn 20. I just don't understand why they didn't do this before. It makes complete sense along with, you know, reducing kids' prices, except they made it completely free now, so whatevs. Your decision, NASCAR. I think a huge discount would have been better, like $10 for kids under 15 or something. I don't know, with an adult present or something. I don't fucking know. I would probably get rid of this off week. I'd probably get rid of this off week because I feel like there's too many off weeks. Plus, this is right after. Because what we had to do was make an off week on this week before Darlington. But I think that might actually be a good idea in general to get people rested up for a marquee event. That's what I think anyway. So then I'd get rid of this off week so that the season ends quicker. But I kind of like how this is an off week when it's the Road America, Xfinity, and Trucks together. Not at the same time though. We go to California twice. We still go to Phoenix twice, except the second race is way shorter. Instead of a 500K, it's a 400K. And then, you know, the originally Chase race at Charlotte is a 3-way companion event. And then you go back to Dover for the 401, but instead everyone else goes to Irwindale. And yeah, there's a Talladega companion event with the Cup Series. But then you go to Oswego, or however the hell you say that. So, that's a 5/8 mile. I think that's the proper fractal amount. 5/8 mile. So you could send Wheeling that way, and you can send Trucks that way. I think that's brilliant. Ooh, I got a notification. I wonder what this is all about. All right, thank you. Oh yeah, I changed the points format, but you already know what it is, so I don't need to even say that. So then they go to Texas and into Nashville, and then here is the final truck race of the season. They would end with a companion event in Martinsville, just as it started with a short track, it would end with a short track, and it would be a 300, I think, just to make, you know, the stakes a bit higher. It's a longer race that you need to put all your effort into. And it would be Friday night race at Martinsville, I think, because then the Xfinity's in Michigan, so then the Cup race would be Saturday at 7, but the Trucks have their own day here at 7 p.m. on Friday to tear shit up. And I think a Friday night race at Martinsville to determine the Truck Championship would be pretty badass. I'm not gonna lie. So that's why I would do that. And then the truck season would end there. And then we go into November. And what I would do, this would be the only time all year that I experiment with this. But we'd have Circuit of the America 3-hour race between Cup and Xfinity. But they would run at the same time. Now, this is a highly experimental idea to do like GT Le Mans style. Multiple series running at the same time. And this would be up to 80 cars on the track, potentially, at the same time. Which is why I chose Circuit of the Americas. And maybe I could have chosen Road America instead. But I feel like we should adjust Road America so that there's a access road to reduce the length of caution laps. Because that's just brutal. Caution flags at Road America is just brutal. So what we do with the 3 hour, the 80 cars on track at a time, we would have probably local cautions. And since this is so late into the season, I would hope that the drivers entered into the event would have their shit together so that there isn't a whole lot of cautions, but you can never trust these guys, especially when you have drivers like Matt Tifft and Ben Rhodes in these fucking events with their pay-to-play sponsors, so they're probably guaranteed rides somewhere. But hopefully, you know, single buyer and engine manufacturers, you know, single distributor engine manufacturers, hopefully that would make things better. I don't know. Yeah. So it's highly experimental, this idea, but you know how it is. And then next week we would go to Richmond. I think I might want to adjust this so that this is a potentially a companion event. Let me check to see if I've done a Richmond companion event already with Xfinity Series. No, I didn't. So I could probably do like a companion event with Richmond here, but this is All-Star Weekend. There would be an Xfinity race before the All-Star race. And I put Charlotte with a question mark because, you know, we could put it on rotation. We could take it anywhere. We could take it to Homestead for all I care. But it would be a 200 lap bar none. Bar none. There would be no segments. There'd be no pit road requirements. It would just be a 200 lap race. The only stipulation is that crew chiefs and engineers have free range of ride heights and spoiler adjustments. If they want to run as high off the ground without a spoiler as possible, good fucking luck winning the race, but go right ahead. If they want to try to scrape the car against the ground and just ride the rims and put their spoiler up to like, of course there would be some sort of limit. There'd be like a 5-inch limit on the spoiler. They couldn't like make a different spoiler. They could adjust the angle, but not or remove it entirely, like I said. But it would have to remain the spoiler that is in every other race. They just have free range of adjusting it and ride heights. So beyond that, it's just a 200-mile normal race. No bullshit, because bullshit's stupid. And then, of course, Homestead would be the finale. See, the season ends so late and starts so early because it's always right after the Super Bowl. So that's why I take out an off week right here. And you could really only take off this off week or start the season later, which I don't want to do, because I want to make sure that Darlington always falls on Labor Day. Or I could adjust the schedule so that it isn't race 26. I mean, there's always that option, but who wants that, you know? So yeah, I try to make the season end on the 19th. I take out the off week that I put here, but it's just way too much work to put together now. But yeah, trucks are still my favorite schedule. There's one super speedway and then Michigan, and then everywhere else is either like Las Vegas or Atlanta or a short track home track like Hickory or Denver. So yeah, that is the schedule. I think we've really touched on everything. We make extensive use of the double headers with discounted tickets so that frickin' people can, you know, watch races they didn't plan on watching in the first place, and NASCAR's can earn some extra money out of that. So that, I think, is the extent of the schedule, and probably the extent of this video. Because we have discussed getting rid of the chase in all series, changing the points situation, getting rid of the splitter and tapered spacer in Cup and splitter in all series, honestly. Except for trucks. We're not changing anything about trucks. They can keep their splitter. You know, their non-existent splitter. Hey! Trucks produce some of the best racing in all of NASCAR. They don't have a splitter. I wonder what the connection here is. Yeah, and then there's a single provider for engines to all teams at a flat rate, no matter your manufacturer, and then you saw the schedule changes. And I think... Yeah, and then Cup drivers can, Cup drivers free range on all series until you hit 50 career Cup races. Then you are limited to 3 Xfinity or Truck Series races, depending on how you want to distribute those 3 races. And the Trucks exhibition race at the start of the season is a freebie because it's a non-points race and anyone can enter. I think that's about it. I think that's about it. That's really... I mean, this is a long-ass video, but I think that's the extent of things, honestly. I've touched on just about every major thing that I would want to change. I mean, besides little bits and pieces of branding, like with the Monster Energy series, I try and get like techno-based power rock, kind of like the original like TNT channel bumpers, you know, with like Fuel. Well, that's NBC, but or you know AC/DC. I try and get like the first thing that comes to mind is Korn. But they're like fucking dubstep now, which is insane. So there's another group called Dune that I really like that could do it. Yeah, listen to like Victim of the City or something. They could write something like Victim of the Racetrack, and they could have some arpeggio kind of shit in the background. I don't know. Yeah, it would be more rock based instead of country based. But the Truck Series could stay more like down-home country-style stuff because, you know, they're racing in your backyard could be like the slogan. Action from your own backyard because of all the home tracks they go to. Xfinity Series, it could still be names are made here because names might actually be made there since, you know, Cup guys can only do, you know, 3 races maximum in there. So maybe names could actually be made. Who knows? We just have to see. The same limit is for Xfinity drivers. They can go up. You can play up as much as you want. So Xfinity and truck drivers could go up to Xfinity or Cup with no rules or regulation. But Xfinity for sure can only do 3 races in Truck Series. Maximum. After your 50th Xfinity race. So... you know, pushing rookies as fast as you can. You know, there'd probably be a lot more things that the Xfinity drivers could drop down into trucks for, which wouldn't be too bad. I mean, it gives you prestige. I mean, extra wins in the Truck Series and an extra win in the Truck Series. It might actually mean something if you're a younger driver trying to get your shit together. I mean, what the fuck does this do for Kyle Busch? Oh yeah, abso-fucking-lutely nothing. Anyway. Yeah, but there's so few companion events. I mean, Xfinity and truck companion events are kind of the staple for this new thing, so that it gives tracks, that gives people more of an incentive to go to tracks, because you get 2 for the price of, well, not 2 for the price of 1, but you get 2 races, which would usually be only 1, under the old fucking shitty schedule. Like, the schedule that they have now is just awful. The schedule for NASCAR now is just horrendous. So... I mean, mine isn't perfect either, but I think it's a vast improvement, even though it's not close to perfect. It's a vast improvement over what there is now. I mean, we still go to every track, so every track gets a Cup race. That should get a Cup race. They just don't get as many as they fucking need, because we sure as shit don't need to go to Michigan and New Hampshire twice. Don't know where in the fuck the whole point of that is. We don't even need to go Pocono twice. I only said Pocono twice so we could have an extra road course. And potentially be able to race in the rain because of that. Because, yeah, that's all that ever fucking happens in Pocono. So, yeah. I think you get the main idea here. That's all I'd really change besides minuscule branding here and there. Of course, I'd attend every fucking race to make sure that my product didn't suck ass. Brian France. I'm talking to you directly, fucking tool. So yeah, I give a shit about NASCAR. I would run it better. And what do you think? This is a long ass video. You have lots to talk about, so please leave a fucking comment before I fucking shoot myself because no one talks to me. Yeah. Anyway, yes, this has been everything that I would change in NASCAR. Bye!